No, we're at a working winery, which means like people are like constantly kind of like milling about and working. So we apologize, but it's also a lot of fun. You just hear all the activity and see all the sights and sounds.
Also true. So why don't you introduce our next guest?
I will. Nick Dumitru, friend of mine for several years now. We got to bond over First in Austin, have some barbecue together. He runs a mastermind monthly that I'm involved in, Monetize Your Bros. I think we did some fun stuff in the past with like click manipulation. He's always looking for those little angles for like, how can you juice some growth? So I'm really eager to hear what Nick has for us today. Let's get a real quick mic check. Is Nick's audio sounding good to you?
Can you guys hear me?
There we go.
Yes, it is sounding good to me.
All right.
Right on.
Also, Chu, if you need or want to ask questions for Nick, just please put them in the poll below, or I'm sorry, the ask a question below, and then we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So without further ado, Nick.
Awesome.
Ready.
All right, guys, thank you. I'm going to try to get right into this as fast as possible because I see a lot of drinking talk in the chat. So before everybody gets too inebriated, I'm going to do my best here. Give me 1 second just to get this screen share going. If you guys would just bear with me for 1 second. Okay, guys, I apologize. We may lose connection here for a second. Chrome's asking to restart here. Just I apologize for this.
Which this out as you're using Crowdcast. If you click any button in Crowdcast, suddenly you're not on Crowdcast. But Nick figured it out. He's back.
Awesome.
Let's do this.
All right, guys, I'm getting too many video sources. All right, I think that's, you guys cut one out. That should work. Okay, can you guys see the screen? Yes. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. So let's get into it now. That apologize for the technical difficulties there. Okay, today we're going to talk about a topic that I haven't been as excited about since really about the I guess we'd call it the turn of the century, late 1990s, early 2000s with SEO. That was really a way to make a lot of money online for businesses without a lot of effort, without a great deal of effort. SMS, text messaging, short message services, they are really the next wave in that. It's something that we're seeing that has got a fairly low barrier to entry. It's very exciting, and it can really enhance anything that you're doing from SEO to paid. Basically, whatever you're into, this kind of is like rocket fuel to that. At least that's what we've seen in our efforts. So this presentation is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a whiteboard session. We're going to make it a bit more like a class. I'm going to be just illustrating live. I've got some examples. I don't really have slides, but I've always found it easier to learn when I can illustrate things and to teach when I can illustrate things. So I'm hoping that everyone's okay with that format. Like the guy said, put your questions in the ask questions box. I'm going to try to check the chat every once in a while. It's going to be a little bit hard to do that, but if you've got something urgent, just bring it up, and the guys might flag me or something, and I'll get on top of that. Okay, so what I'd like you first to do is to comment in the chat today. I'm gonna, just to help me sort of target this class to what you guys want to see is, do you want to hear about SMS for sales? Do you want to hear about it for branding, or do you want to hear about it more for customer service? Just type in either branding, sales, or customer service in the chat, and let's just see what the group wants to do. Joe's saying sales over there. Thanks, Joe. Sales always important, of course. Okay, so as you guys are making up your mind, and is that another sales? Wow, everyone's liking sales. Branding, sales, sales. So it's sales. Okay, so sales and branding seem to be coming in as the biggest things. Wow, nobody cares about service. That's both enlightening and frightening. That's fantastic. Branding and sales. Okay, well, it's, you know, I love doing this in a room. My partner actually started doing this a while ago, just to relieve some of the anxiety here. I'm going to give you guys some good news, and that's that we're going to try to cover all three of those things here today. So you don't have to choose, but I do appreciate the interaction and letting me know. Branding is surprisingly popular. It's very interesting. Okay, so moving on. I'd like to ask you guys a few questions here, just a couple of questions. I'd appreciate you guys dropping it in the chat as well. Just by putting in the chat either a yes or a no, how many of you love to wake up on a Monday morning and just hit your email inbox, your business email, and just start going through all the stuff that you've gotten over the weekend? How many of you just love doing that? Just say yes if you do, no if you don't. Joe says yes. I am not surprised. Joe loves his job. He is a man that doesn't have to work a day in his life because he is doing what he loves to do. Malke says blah. Okay, so just yes or no. Forget that. No. Okay, so a lot of people are not loving the email, not paying attention to their email inbox, and getting a lot of no's and nobs. Oh, I got another yeah. All right, another man who is doing what he loves. I can tell you, I'm not particularly fond of it first thing on a Monday, especially my work email. I really don't look forward to that. It's just a lot of stuff. Mondays are always very, very heavy. All right. Now, again, how many of you absolutely love to pick up the phone from a number you don't recognize? Whether your phone rings, your mobile phone rings, how many of you just love to pick that call up and see who it is on the other line and just have a really meaningful discussion with somebody that you don't know and you don't recognize? Mike says he waits until afternoon for his emails. Smart man. Doc says no, never. Okay, so we're getting no, never. Oh, one person loves to talk. All right, Yasir. I, for one, hate any kind of phone call. So even from people I know, for the most part, I'm not going to lie to you guys. So we're getting a lot of no's. A lot of people say they just don't answer. Okay, now let me ask you one final question. How many of you look, at the very least, look at your phone or check your SMS messages as they come in? When you get that little ding that you've got an SMS message that somebody texted you, you go and you check it. How many people do that? Or at least, at the very least, look at the notification on the screen that pops up. I'm getting yep. Getting yeah way too often. Yes. Okay, so the reason I'm asking you guys these questions is, LOL, me, yes. Everybody checks their messages for the most part. So that's the real power of SMS. The real power of it is that you are in people's pockets. It's real data. There aren't multiple email addresses. People tend to engage with SMS with their friends or with companies that they know and they trust. They feel that they've got control over it, and we'll get into that a little bit later as to why. People don't typically block them, so people are blocking their calls when they come in. There are services now, Apple's put it into their OS where they'll actually block unknown phone numbers and stuff. So it's been getting harder and harder to use other channels. So emails become very noisy. Phone calling out, dialing out has become more difficult. But for whatever reason, SMS is this kind of open goal that we've got out here. Everyone's pretty much leaving it wide open. And what we've noticed with SMS is that it can really add value to everything that you're doing. So if you're an agency owner, if you're a business owner, if you are a brand manager, it really is like rocket fuel, because you're able to build those connections. And if you are, let's say you're ranking a web page, if you can also capture someone's phone number and start engaging them in chat, it really adds value to everything that you're doing. So all of your rankings, all of your ads that you're putting out, all of your brand interactions really go to the next level when you start using SMS. And we'll talk more about that after. Before I get into it, very quickly, why I know a little bit about this topic. I've been doing marketing for 20 years. That includes SEO, it includes paid, it includes a lot of brand development and helping businesses really quadruple, quintuple, I'm not going to say 10x, but basically taking real bricks and mortar businesses and growing them for clients with consulting. On the back of that experience, though, we got exceedingly frustrated with SMS platforms for marketers. So we built our own. That's really why I'm talking about SMS today, is just that we saw the power of it. We couldn't get it done. So we started to build our own. And while we built it, we also helped a lot of these clients that came onto the platform. So we've seen a lot of what's possible, which like I said, it gets me more and more excited every day now. The platform's called Sell Engage. I'm only going to say this once. It's not going to be a pitch fest in any way, but I wanted to do something for you guys in case you haven't gotten started with SMS and you just want to have an easy way to trial it from someone that you trust. So that little link at the bottom right there, that's a 28-day free trial for everyone. It's sellengage.com/DMO. So you can go there and grab yourself a free trial if you're looking to just play around with SMS. I'm not going to feel badly if you cancel after. Don't worry about it. I just want you guys to try it out and see exactly what's possible. Okay, before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit about the alternative to SMS. So some of the platforms that you have available to you, obviously the elephant in the room is going to be email. So let me just draw a little email there. So the thing with email is that it's never really one email address. So a lot of people have got multiple email. They might have their work one. They might have their personal. They might have one where they get all of their Facebook notifications that they don't want to crowd up their other emails with. All of us probably have a junk email that we use to sign up for offers and events where we don't want to keep getting things from that person. So that's one of the issues that we saw with email. And when I'm going to go through all these platforms, I'm not knocking any of these. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I still love email. I think email still rocks it. I think you can make a ton of money with email. I'm not saying email is dead in any way, shape, or form. But there's a way to use a channel for a specific need, and each of them have their own challenges and limitations. And I want you to understand what each one of those things have and don't have, so that you'll know exactly how to implement it into your marketing. Another problem with email is spam filters, right? So you got people telling you which messages and which topics should go through, which words should go through. It's a very noisy platform, right? So when you've got email, you've got people, you got your home email, your work email, whatever. You answer one email, 5 other emails come in. So it's a very, very noisy platform. Things are not as instant as they could be. It's not personal at all. It's kind of slow and deliberate. The other problem is that there's no immediate gratification. When you think about SMS, you got that sort of expectation of immediacy, and we don't have that with email. We're kind of okay to wait even 24 hours, 48 hours for someone to reply. We're not offended by it. That can be an advantage. It can be a disadvantage. When you're trying to build that brand connection, when you're trying to make a sale, especially in sales, you guys wanted to talk about sales, but in sales, we've got something called purchase velocity, right? So when somebody starts their journey here and they're about to buy, they get this kind of momentum and it drives up, right? And it leads to a sale. Well, what happens with time is that if you don't get that sale, it comes up and then it starts to go down, right? So the purchase velocity starts to go down, and email can do that. It can, if someone just signed up for your offer or someone just bought a product from you and you want to offer them something else, well, if their email is buried below 30, 40, 50 other emails that day, and they might get to it in the evening, that urgency, that need, the pain, whatever it caused them to purchase is gone by the end of the day. So you lose the sales velocity with it, right? So always be very cognizant of what channel you're using, for what purpose, and when you need to maintain that velocity, right? The purchase velocity, the intent. That's where SMS comes in over email. That's where it does have an advantage over it. The other thing with SMS versus email is that you really get to stay with them after they leave your channel. So if they've signed up to your platform, when they get an email, that email, like I said, it could be put into spam. It could have gotten buried by 5, 10 other emails. If you're on SMS, they've left your channel, they've left your website, you capture that phone number, you can be in their face and you're literally in their pocket all the time. Real people, real devices. That's what we always talk about. So let's move on from email, and we're going to talk about the next one. The next one is web chat. Okay, so web chat, you're gonna have to bear with me while I do a little bubble. Right, so web chat, this is the little embedded little thing that you have, the little widget that you have on most websites nowadays, that pops up and you get to chat in real time. So this is web chat is, I think, a step better than email, because it can give you that immediate response. It gives you that instant gratification, right? So you do have that. But what happens is that if they're on your website, right, the web chat is typically here. You might try to capture an email. They may or may not give it to you. When they leave, that connection is broken. So you no longer have the ability to communicate with that person, right? Because they're gone. They've left your website. They're no longer there. And this is where, while you have that immediacy, if let's say, well, we have a perfect example. The dog starts barking. The landscapers are here. Maybe you need to run very quickly and deal with that. You forget about the channel that you were on. The landscaper cut your cable. You have a power outage. All of a sudden, you're no longer on that website. I'm being a bit extreme just to show an example, but you get the idea of what I mean there. And what happens with that, once they leave your channel, they may not come back. You've got no way to capture them. You haven't done the job of getting connected with them, building a relationship. And what we say is with web chat, you're inviting people into your world, right? So you're a business owner, you're a brand manager, you're inviting them into your experience. And what happens is once they leave, then they're no longer with you. What happens with SMS is that instead of inviting them into your world, they're inviting you into their world. So now when they leave, if that person's gone, that person has left the property, well, all of a sudden, you can just stay with them. Because if they're at the beach, you know what? They've still got their phone. That's a really bad, ugly little phone. They've still got their phone in their pocket. So if you've captured that phone number, even if they get interrupted, the kid starts crying, the landscaper's there, Amazon's dropping off a package, the movers are here, and you can't get to it till a little bit later, you've always got them there. You can follow up with them. It can ding. As soon as they've got a free moment, they're going to get back to you because they're going to have that notification. Nice thing about a lot of phones is that they'll even double notify you, right? So it dings. You don't pay attention to it. All of a sudden, it dings again. I know the iPhone will do that. So you're always in their pocket, and now they've invited you into their world, right? So, you're in their world. You're following them around. So web chat, again, immediate gratification. You get to talk to them in real time, but you can't follow them. So that's where we saw when we were doing our marketing campaigns. That's where we saw web chat falling short. Okay, so let's get to the last one, which is, I don't know what happened there. You guys may have to put up with the crooked screen here. So what happens with now we have the other big platforms, which is, of course, good old Zuckerberg and Facebook, right? So we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram. I'm going to try to draw their logo a little bit, right? And then what we have is messenger platforms, right? So Messenger is another one of these platforms that, yes, they are real time. Yes, they can kind of be taken with you all the time because people have the apps on their device. They have Messenger always up and running. The problem we have with Messenger is that they have strict rules, right? So when you're on somebody else's platform, you've got to play by their rules. For example, Facebook introduced their 24-hour message rule. If somebody signs up for your list, you have, I don't know, like 24 or 48 hours to contact them. If they don't reply, you can reply to them again, maybe, I forget in what period of time, like a week or whatever. And then you have 24 hours to communicate with them. Beyond 24 hours, it's pretty much against their policies, and there are a lot of brands that are getting shut down because of that, which is a real hassle. So you can get away with it sometimes. I'm not saying you can't, but you really do risk being shut down because of their platform. You don't control their platform. You don't control the rules. They tell you what to say. They've got policies which are based on, or rules which are based on policies, internal company rhetoric, rather than the law. And that's one thing where SMS is very different, is nobody's telling you what to do. With SMS, it's your message, your phone number. We're going to get into some of the limitations later, but nobody's basically telling you what to do. So if you want to put out a brand message that's maybe a little bit controversial, or you see it in real time here, I'm not taking sides one way or another on the whole Corona thing, but there's a lot of there are a lot of people deciding what's right or wrong at the moment, and what messages should and shouldn't be going out there. So there's a lot of censorship that's happening on these third-party platforms. And if you're a brand manager, if you're a salesperson and you need to make sales to feed your family or feed your company, you're going to run into a lot of problems because you're putting your success into their hands. And I've always said this, I tell this to all my clients, I'm not a big fan of putting my success in other people's hands. I like to have control over my success. So if I'm going to invest in something, you know, SMS and email are the two channels where you can kind of control them a little bit better. Email has a lot more spam protection than SMS, but at least you're controlling your destiny. And I'm a big believer in that, and not allowing that to letting other people dictate your success. So those are the sort of the three main alternatives. If you guys have others, we can discuss it in the chat later, but those are the three main alternatives when it comes to these live messaging platforms. So in SMS, what we get is you get control of your own destiny. Like I said, you get to say what you want, when you want to, who you want to, without people deciding what's right or wrong for you. You get to push the messages in front of your customers when they need them. So the other thing with SMS is that it's in real time. If you've got, like I said, if someone just bought something on your e-commerce store and you want to make them a special offer immediately, you can do so with SMS. Whereas with email, you're taking a chance whether they're going to get it or not. And like I said, that buying momentum could be gone. It's hard data. So with SMS, it's hard data. It's not really kind of troll profiles. It's people signing up. Most people have one phone and one phone number. With this crowd, maybe your business owners, marketers, internet marketers, we may have a second or third phone. We're going to put that aside. The vast majority of the market typically has one telephone, unless they're cheating on their spouse or whatever. But they've got one phone and one phone number. And that's really what you're dealing with. You're dealing with hard data, real people. You're in their pocket all the time. It's not alternate profiles. It's not throwaway email addresses. It's not alternate email addresses. It's not frequently checked email addresses that maybe they get to on the weekend or whatever because they're signing up for a newsletter. And I'm seeing some talk here with people don't want SMS. I'm gonna, Mike, I'm gonna challenge you on that as we go through this talk. We've seen the exact opposite of that. People do want SMS. What we've seen a lot of businesses, we deal with a lot of bricks and mortar. It's becoming the preferred platform. What's wrong with the way that it's done is that people are doing SMS very wrong, and they're causing a lot of spam, and that's maybe where that's coming from. And you just said you have to have buyers that are interested. I would say that if you've got a brand and if you've got a business and you're not generating buyers that are interested, you're wasting your time, plain and simple. So you should always be trying to get people that are interested in your message. If you're just broadcasting into the wind, you're pretty much going to be wasting your time. And I wouldn't advise any of our clients to do that. All right. So there are some drawbacks to SMS. I want to cover that as well before we get further into that. I'm not saying it's the holy grail. I'm just saying it's something that that is something that we're very excited about. But let's go through some of the drawbacks that you should consider, because I mean every channel has its drawbacks. SMS is no different. So the first one is that it's more expensive. SMS does cost money. That is both an advantage and a disadvantage, right? So the cost is a real consideration, right? The disadvantage is that it costs more. The advantage is that it makes you a more considerate marketer, right? So you've got, I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of this. We get lazy as marketers. We try to take the easy route. And we don't really consider things because, again, email is cheap. Live chat on your website is cheap. SEO is getting more expensive. But again, if you've got a website that's rocking with the SEO and you've got a lot of this traffic coming in from your efforts, costs are kind of controlled, even if it's not cheap, but at least they're kind of steady. So it's predictable. And we don't need to be as considerate with our marketing. With SMS, it is something that you have to consider as a marketer. So again, definitely have a strategy where you're getting interested people. Definitely have a strategy where you're building a connection. I can tell you now from what we've seen, nothing is more powerful in terms of sales. And we're going to get into that in a second. But there is a cost to it. So it's not a free platform, and it's not a cheap platform because you are constantly going to have to pay for it. There are two kinds of pricing models. So I'll tell you what we did. And one of the reasons why we set up our platform for marketers is the first one is the pay for usage. Okay. And then just a monthly fee. So pay for usage, this is where if you're evaluating SMS platform, if you want to use your SMS platform to send out a lot of text. So we cater to people that are high volume, high ticket. If you're just a small sort of mom and pop shop, if you're a smaller marketer, then I suggest you go with one of these pay for usage platforms, because typically the monthly fees are going to be very low, and then they make their money on usage, right? So they make their money on the phone numbers, and they make their money on the per message, right? So every time you send a message, they make, if you're paying like 0.07 cents on your own platform, they might be charging you 0.2 cents, right? 2 cents to send that versus half a cent or about a penny. So that's where they make their money. So when you're evaluating an SMS platform, it doesn't matter which one you go with. That's something that you have to consider, is how are they monetizing that, and what's that going to mean over time. As marketers, we didn't want to have to do that, so we just have a monthly fee, and you bring your own API from Twilio. For a couple of reasons. One is that the liability stays with the user from our standpoint as a company. The other is that I don't like to punish people for performance, right? So if you're doing well, if you've hit on a campaign and you start to scale that campaign, I don't think it should be costing you a lot more money just because you're getting bigger. So that's something you have to consider. If you've got a rolling offer, we've got clients doing 500 to 1,000 sales a day in like the weight loss niche and golf and these kinds of sort of passion niches. They're, when they hit on something, it starts to work really, really well for them. So we allow them to bring their own API, and then they pay wholesale rates. So as a business owner, that's something you have to consider in terms of costs. The other thing that happens is you'll get a lot of carrier blocking. So in email, you've got spam control, right? So you've got ESPs deciding what you can and can't sell. Carriers are not much different in the SMS world. There's a big difference, though, that you have to watch out for. There's a little bit of a how can I put it? A little bit of deception, I would say, on their part. I don't want to knock any of the carriers, but what happens with email is typically you'll end up in the spam box, and then you can ask somebody to fish you out. What happens with SMS is that when you send the message, right? Let's say Twilio, if that's your API, that's the one that we use in our platform as well. So you bring your own. Twilio will say it was sent, right, or delivered. And then what happens is it never actually gets to the consumer. So the consumer never sees that message. And it's a bit disingenuous because it's something that goes out. You know, you're paying for it, they're taking the money for it, but then they don't actually deliver it. Mike's very, very passionate about not doing SMS. It's okay, Mike. So don't worry about it because we've got a lot of things in place in our platform. So one of the ways I want to talk to you guys about how we deal with it. So we got a lot of SEOs here. So word substitution, all right, is one way that we do it. You guys may know it as spinning if you've been dealing with SEO for a long time, you'll know spinning. So one thing that we built in is the ability to change the messages. So you might say like, hey, nice, great, wonderful to see you, right? So it'll choose any one of those three words, and then it spins a unique message. The other thing that we're doing, and you know, feel free to use this in your own platforms if you've built your own or whatever you did, is that we will limit the numbers per phone number. So let's say we send only 500 messages per phone number. Cost of a phone number is about $1 a month, and you can scrap them if you need to. But like I said, we like to build long-term campaigns, long-term relationships. So we recommend, you know, as your list grows, just add phone numbers. They're very inexpensive, so that you're communicating with subsets of people at a time with any specific phone number. That helps it get through. The other thing that we are doing is URL shortening. URL shortening and diversification. So you can bring in your own URL. So what we do is we'll bring a URL and then we'll spin maybe 5 extensions to that. So we're not using a Bitly or one of these other URL shorteners that can get blocked. So the combination of those three, what happens is that we've seen that we can do a lot of messages at a time. And that's with a long form number. Now you can get a short code. For those of you that are working with bigger brands, you can use a short code. You can get a short code. They run about 10 grand a year or so. They're approved by all the carriers. We've found those are okay, but we found that if you're using a local area code, it tends to do better, especially for local businesses. Okay. So before we move forward, I want to start to establish a little bit of just a common language, so that depending on where you've gotten your knowledge or education on marketing, I just want to make sure that we're all talking the same sort of language here. So very quickly, and then we're going to get into some examples right after that, but I just want to make sure that we're all saying the same things. So first thing we're going to talk about is the funnel. Typical funnel in marketing. When I refer to it as a funnel, we have your top of funnel, middle, and bottom of funnel. This typically corresponds to the level of awareness. So you have people that are aware of your product, people that are unaware of your product, people that are unaware of their problem, that they even have a problem, and then people that are aware of the problem, but they're not aware of any solutions. The vertical here is time. So when we're talking about using anything, whether it's email, whether it's SMS or live chat, you're trying to compress that time to purchase, right? So the bottom of the funnel is where the money comes out. The top of the funnel is where the clients come in. And what you're doing with your messaging, and as a marketer, doesn't matter if you're an SEO, right? So you're trying to, with SEO, you'd be doing broad content, narrowly defined content, right? So based on your keywords, to try to get people more and more aware, and then finally to do a conversion and get that lead or purchase to come through to your client or your own websites. What we're doing with SMS is that we're trying to condense that time to purchase. So that's really where we're working. We're doing the bulk of our work with it. Now, there's another definition of a funnel. Internet marketers may use the term funnel, what I'll call a straight funnel, just so you know, where basically you've got a landing page. You've got a landing page. You've got maybe a checkout page, and you've got a thank you page just to and you could have a squeeze page at the front of this to capture data. So that's just a straight funnel. So we're going to call this a straight funnel. Just so we're all on the same page. I call that a straight funnel. That's when let's say you're driving an ad or an affiliate link or whatever to a landing page, and then that's sending them through to a checkout page, a VSL, whatever it might be, and then a thank you page on the back of that. I see a lot of talk in the chat. Just very quickly, you guys are talking about video and SMS and how you would do video with SMS. I'll tell you, we do video very successfully with SMS, not by attaching it, but by getting people to go through to a VSL. So they opt in to a squeeze page, and then we send them, right? So SMS would come in here. Right, so you would deliver that with SMS on their phone. It's a way of validating people, and then that sends them through to a lander which has the video or VSL, and then that goes through to the checkout on their mobile device. So that's really how you handle video. It's not about sending video and SMS. You probably wouldn't want to be doing that, although it is possible with an MMS. But that's how we handle that situation. Just I'm just watching the chat as we're doing this. Okay, so the stages of the consumer journey, the stages of this sort of the funnel, transaction, and then time that we've identified, the one that we talk about are awareness, interest, seeking, research. So awareness is where they become aware that, either they have a problem or there's something what is the close rate you're getting? Mike, I don't know if that's meant for me, Mike. We're seeing close rates anywhere from 20% to 70%, depending on how it's used. I'll get into the exact specific use cases of how to use SMS. Right? It sounds like some of the people on the chat have had problems with SMS, in that it's probably just done the wrong way. Like, there are a lot of spammers out there. A lot of people just don't get it. They try to spam and blast stuff out. But there's a way to do it right. We do it really well with plastic surgeons. We do it really well, like I said, with guys doing internet marketing and online sales. So we're gonna get through the specific use cases in a second, and I'm gonna show you just how powerful that can be. Somebody's clinging glasses.
Sorry.
We're just here. Don't mind
thirsty.
us.
Okay, so awareness. I was getting awareness, interest. So let me just write down. Okay, so we got awareness. Awareness is where they become aware of a problem. Interest is where they become interested in a solution. Seeking behavior is where they start to look for the solution. So in SEO, this would be your long tail. Then you get to closer to the short tail. Then we have validation and justification. I always call this stuff I have to tell my wife as to why I need to buy this. Validation, justification. Then we have decision, purchase, post-purchase, cognitive consonance, and cognitive dissonance. We'll get into that a little bit later. Customer service, events, and repurchase or referrals. So just for the notice, we're running a little bit short on time here. It's my fault for talking a little too long there. But let's get into that. So just to shorten it, this is basically what it looks like. So what we're doing with SMS is we're looking, where can we insert meaningful, real human interaction and automation into this process to help the consumer come to the decision to purchase, and then to refer or to come back or to build brand loyalty on the back of it. So that's really how we're evaluating that. Now, this is our basic model. On top of that, I always layer experience. So on top of it, we have the consumer experience. And I define experience as not what it was like to deal with you, but basically what the consumer is experiencing with your brand throughout the process. And then the customer service events at the bottom. Typically, it's post-purchase. Sometimes it's pre-purchase if they've got buying questions. But I define customer service as the person's had a problem and they've had to engage with your company, and how did they deal with that? And again, these are all areas where we can start to really add meaningful interaction with SMS. So let's start going through some examples. I know a lot of people, we've talked a lot of theoretical up until now. So let's start looking at a few of these examples. Let me bring them up here of what can and can't be done. So this is, pardon this cue, I don't know how to correct that on the software. So we're all going to have to look at these things sideways. This is a furnace company here in, I'm based up in Canada in Toronto. This is a furnace company. It's actually not my furnace company that I own, but the one that services my house. And this is what they send out pre-technicians. So before the technician comes to your house, so, you know, it gives you the name. So like I said, if you're talking about brand building, you're talking about trust building, imagine what it feels like to be home alone, you know, waiting for some stranger to show up at the door. Maybe you're there with your kid. You don't know who this guy is. Some dude's just knocking at your door. You don't know if it's the right guy. It's not the FBI. You can't ask for credentials, right? Anybody could be coming to your door. This furnace company is doing a really great job. First of all, they are, you can see here, it gives you the name of the person, right? So you can start to address the person by name. Some people feel more comfortable doing that. So I know Al is coming. I know Travell is coming for this service. It gives you credentials, right? So imagine what I'd like you to do is when you're looking at these examples, start extrapolating it to your business. So imagine that you're a plastic surgeon, you're a dentist, whatever it might be. And you send this out before the person's appointment. Hey, you're going to be meeting with Al. He's been a dental technician for 25 years, right? Al here is he's been working for 25 years. He's been certified in HVAC equipment, right? So you can send the credentials, the authority, the trust, the personalization. One single MMS message here with an image is doing all of that work, right? So by the time that the person comes to your office, or by the time that this technician comes to my home, I know a little bit about him. I know that he's qualified to do the job. He's been working for 25 years, so I'm building some trust, you know, that's some credibility. He's certified, again, additional credibility. It tells me a little bit about him. He loves solving issues, makes me feel like he's a friendly guy who's going to take care of my problems. And wow, Mike, you're a really unhappy dude with all this SMS stuff, man. I'm going to get to sales. Don't worry. I'm going to get into that. I'm just trying to give people some examples.
We're gonna connect both of you, by the way. We'll just give you guys each other's email addresses.
Yeah, I'm happy to help convert them. I don't mind. Do a little evangelical work. We made hundreds of thousands of dollars on the back of these SMS messages, so I'd love for him to do the same.
Nice.
So again, we're getting back to this example. This is really a customer service qualifying, and now Mike's saying that it's got nothing to do with sales. I would totally disagree, because when these technicians comes to your house, their job is to upsell, right? So they do the service, but they also have the ability to upsell. Hey, your air conditioner is broken. Boom, that's a $3,000 to $5,000 sale. Oh, you need a new filter. Your ducts are dirty. Again, additional sales. So absolutely, if Al's going to come to my house, he's been doing this for 25 years. I know that he's certified. When Al tells me my ducts need cleaning because my filter is dirty, that's a sales opportunity. So I would completely disagree with that. And I've got that there, and I've made that connection, and I can trust Al before he even comes to my door. So this company is enhancing their ability to sell on the back of this one message. So again, that's where it ties into sales. So this message does multiple duties. It builds brand awareness, right? So it's branded. It's got the brand recognition on there. It builds trust. It builds caring. It builds the experience that people are having now, because it's pre-sent to your address before he comes. And it shows that the company cares enough to reduce that anxiety. And then it's opening the door for sales on the back of that appointment. So it's doing multiple duties with just one simple message. So let's move on to another example. So this is one, this is just a test one that we did, but on the back of this, we built out a sales sequence. So Mike, to get to your sales, this is a online motivational speaker kind of, it's like a 30-day challenge book thing. Clark Bartram's his name. So what we do with this is we'll send that out on the back of an opt-in and a purchase, so that as they're opting in for, let's say, some information or a video, they get this, they can see the product. And again, I'm not saying do this exact thing. Try to extrapolate this to your business. Do you have an e-commerce store? Are you getting people to sign up somewhere and asking them maybe a quick survey like, hey, what's your needs? Or do you have knee pain, ankle pain, or back pain? Oh, I have back pain. Boom. Here's the product that I would recommend for you on this, and here's the link to it. So this is an example of something that, again, it builds some brand. He's got a personal brand, so he's building his personal brand. It's continuing the sales process from the internet because you've seen his photo, and then it's allowing you to continue that sale on the back of that. Offline, this is something that Joe loves QR codes, by the way. If you've got QR codes, ask him to scan them. He's a huge QR code guy. But this is something that we do offline at events. So rather than just giving out a business card, we'll get people to start engaging with a bot. And the way that we use this for sales is we start to segment people so that what we do with our platform is we're big believers in kind of the cyborg approach, where we believe in human plus machine. And what we always try to do is any kind of SMS that we do, we try to end it up with a real human interaction. That's a live chat, because, messages and sending out promotions or whatever, that's fine. But really, the way that you get sales is by connecting two humans together and allowing them to make sales. And then we'll try to do from SMS to phone, right? So, hey, it's going to be really hard to type this out. Joe, do you mind if I give you a quick call? So that's what we always do. We put the QR code there just for a bit of fun, just to let people see how that works. But really, they could just text that phone number and start engaging with the bot. So this is sort of an offline to online type deal where we're taking a physical mailer and we're asking people to type in. So this can be used for, let's say you've got an Amazon store and you put in something into your insert or a post-purchase mailer or direct mail piece that you put out, and then ask someone to text in for the code. So you can send the code, and then you're capturing that information, and you're allowed to sort of message them on the back of that. So where it's being done kind of not so great, let me show you an example. This is a carrier here in Toronto that all they are like, I'm their customer. I'm with TELUS. TELUS is one of the 3 big phone companies in Canada. I'm with them. All I ever get from these guys is this. This is sort of the wrong way to do SMS. It can still work. Don't get me wrong. If you've got a buyer list, if you've got I've got a client that does $30 million a year in Botox and Juvederm, and they blast out all the time because they've kind of built their whole business on the back of special offers. I'm not a big fan of this, but this is doable. What I want you to pay attention to here, though, is that unlike a lot of platforms with SMS, the user is in control, which is both a good and a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. So they can always unsubscribe. If I got tired of getting these guys promos, which obviously I haven't because they keep sending them and I didn't bother to type in unsubscribe or stop. They keep coming in. But this is kind of like the lowest form of SMS marketing. I don't recommend this. What you're looking at is at each point of that consumer journey is how can you interact with the user in a way that they request, and then they start to interact with your brand so that you can make that human-to-human connection. Another mistake I see is when companies will not be able to handle the live chat. So with SMS, the expectation is immediacy, and you want to make sure that you get that.
I'm not sure if Mike was saying stop or if he was saying using
I don't know.
stop
I don't know
in
if
the
Mike
SMS.
just.
It happened to be fortuitous.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, real quick, Nick, we have to cut over to our next speaker, but
no problem.
Obviously there's going to be questions that you guys have for Nick. If you can, just pose the question inside the platform, and we'll be happy to have Nick answer those right after we switch over to Terry.